Alrighty, fight fans. Welcome to the MMA Plug presented to you by Mile High Sports. Right away off the top, I'm your host, Jordan Kurtz, sitting here alongside my co-host, UFC middleweight, the Big Yins, Josh Fremd. Give him a follow at Josh Fremd MMA. Give me a follow at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. Make sure that you smash that subscribe button and give a follow to the Mile High Sports Network across all social platforms. They're doing tremendous things here. They're covering all things on the core four sports, especially right now with football season being in full tilt. You've got the SCO show covering the Coach Prime-led CU Buffs that are grabbing headlines every single week. You have the Denver Broncos putting back-to-back wins together. And there's been news on the national level of sports. We had a Denver legend who was a part of those 90s iconic teams from the Nuggets, who unfortunately passed away yesterday, Josh. I mean, it's one of the bigger figures, I guess, from the 90s, just in presence, as well as what he meant for the game and bringing, making the game more international. No, Mr. Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah, I mean, you just gave me a piece of information there. I don't watch basketball that much, but I know who that is. But did I know what team he played for? No, I did not. So thank you for that information. But yeah, that's unfortunate, but just seeing any sports legend go is sad to see. And then you get a nice little image of their past and their career, which is nice.
But I think that speaks to kind of the profile that he had, though, right? Like the level of stardom and just what he was able to achieve. Of you not being someone who watches basketball, didn't.
Do you want to know where I learned of him from?
Probably the Geico commercial.
The Geico commercial.
But
is it
how many years after he was done playing was he cast in that commercial? Is the other thing that you have to look at. I mean,
probably years, I would imagine.
A long time following his playing career, or at least for sure prime years of his playing career. And he still was that big of an impact or that recognized culturally that he was able to just have that sort of play. And when you mention Mutombo, it's almost like, some people have those signature things that you remember, that very specific aspect about them or a characteristic, an antic, whatever. He achieved that with his no.
Yeah, that's his calling card.
That's like a Ric Flair woo. Woo. But moving along from that, guys, there is no shortage of events that are going to be going down across Colorado for the combat sports world over the next few weeks. This weekend, there is going to be an event going down on October 5th, Saturday, at the Norris Penrose Event Center in Colorado Springs. This is a show that, again, on the Front Range, we have the opportunity to see so much talent. I encourage everybody who has the opportunity to go out and check out these local shows. Please do, because you never know who is going to be on the rise and who is fighting on these local shows right now today might be those that you see in the UFC tomorrow.
Literally, we have one who just did it.
Yeah, I mean, Elijah Swift-Smith, he was, he's a champion of multiple local level promotions. He fought for Battle MMA as well, just signed his way into the UFC a couple of weeks ago at just 22 years old. So again, folks, we're not just blowing smoke. This is a true opportunity.
This is an opportunity, and this is where you're going to find that next generation and the next star. So get on out there.
And then the following weekend, we have 5280 Muay Thai. That's going down October 12th at the Stampede. Those Muay Thai matinees are always a fun show. You get in, you get out in the afternoon, and then you're going to have enough time to be able to watch this big fella get after it that day for the UFC.
I am fighting on that same day. Main card, opener. Let's get it.
And then also headlining that card is going to be another couple of Denver-based fighters, one being the Denver native Brandon Raw Dog Royval.
Denver.
And taking on Tatsuro Tairo, who does his training here in Denver as well. So it's going to be a Colorado spectacle that weekend on October 12th. The following weekend, you have the Combat Sports Report Invitational. It's a 16-man sub-only tournament per class. It's going down at the Celebrity Confetti Events Place. So for you grapplers who are serious and you're trying to go out there and make some bread in the process, if your bracket still has spots available, check them out. See what you might be able to do. Put your money on the mat and see what you might walk away with.
Who wouldn't want to compete at a place called Celebrity Confetti?
I mean, and to say like, hey, like if you got some skills about you to say, hey, I'm gonna put up my 100 and maybe walk away with 1,500.
No,
Pretty
I
great
get what you're saying.
opportunity.
I get what you're saying, but also the confetti.
And then following that, this is an arena that and a promotion also. Josh, you had the opportunity to headline a card at the Dobson Arena
that-
for LFA.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was, an opportunity. That was so fun. The Dobson Arena is such a cool venue, a cool arena to be able to fight in. And not only did I get to fight in there, I got to main event it, which was just amazing. And to top it all off, I got a win, which was cool. That just makes everything that much sweeter. And it was amazing. I cannot wait. We have a couple teammates from Factory X who's on the card. I'll be up there.
Absolutely. And then Justin Wetzel will also be, he's headlining that card. We've spoke about it for years on this program.
Yeah, we're going to
believe
repeat
he's
it.
one of the best bantamweights who has not been signed to the UFC out there. And let this be an example that you win in that main event slot for the LFA, doors are going to open up for you.
Yeah.
What opened up for Josh following that opportunity was a couple of months later. Well, here comes, and it's now the lost episode just because of all the circumstances that happened aside from it. But Josh was a part of the filming for an episode of Dana White's Looking for a Fight series, and was one of the emphasis fighters that was on that card alongside Isaac Dolgarian. But again, that opportunity was birthed based off of being able to go out there and have a strong outing against a very tough and tested Renato Valente.
Yeah.
That sort of situation also fell into line for Daniel Frunza, who he picked up a win very last second. I mean, was down most of the whole fight to Harris Tulunzik, picks up a win in the very waning seconds of that fight, gets a Contender Series opportunity, fought a couple of weeks ago, and is now in the UFC as well.
Yeah.
So these fights that you guys get to see in these marquee spots for the Legacy Fighting Alliance, guys, they mean something in the macro perspective of this game.
Yeah, you can almost compare it to going to a college football game to watch one of your favorite athletes, and then they go to the big show. That's literally what that is. It's a feeder system to the UFC, to the big show. And if you guys can go out and just support these guys, it means the world.
And also on that same night, there's going to be BKFC here in Denver, Colorado. There's going to be a couple of the big dogs from the area, like your Chris Camozzi's, that will be on that card. So again, if you're not making your way up to the mountain in Vail, you have the opportunity to watch some bare knuckle fisticuffs.
That's the same night.
Same night.
That is unfortunate scheduling.
Sometimes that's the way the ball works, ladies and gentlemen. And then coming up in November, we are going to have Sparta bringing in bare knuckle to the local scene. That happens at the Blue Credit Arena in Loveland. That will be on November 9th. So make sure that you guys keep your eyes on any updates for the card there. But now we transition to the weekend recap. I had the incredible opportunity of covering the Colorado Jiu-Jitsu Club 22 show this weekend. It was in the middle of the Colorado Tattoo Convention and Expo. Josh, first and foremost, what an atmosphere for a combat sports event. I mean, it's like a giant swap meet with people of all backgrounds, all denominations, all everything. Such a diverse crowd that, hey, they're walking around for the event, but wait, there's a cage in the middle of things and people are getting after it.
That was
interesting show.
That was the funniest thing about it. It was cool. It was a spectacle. It was like, hey, here's these caged humans getting after it while you go about your business in this swap meet. But it was cool. I think that, I've said this before, and I got to call the one event with you. I think that cage jiu-jitsu is such a cool little niche that it's going to kick off here shortly.
100%. And just running down a few of the highlights from the show. In the main event, it was a tale of the young, hungry, rising prospect trying to make a climb on the competition scale and make a name for himself. But the OG combat carnivore proved to be just too tall of a task right now, adding to his impressive Colorado Jiu-Jitsu Club winning streak as Chad the Dad Myers was able to remain victorious against Luis Rodriguez. Like I say, this was a grudge match that was months in the making, but once they got out there and action unfolded, Chad showed that, yes, experience is a factor here. I have been the long-standing black belt, and I'm defending my post. And that's exactly how that matchup went. But Josh, one of your teammates was in the co-main event.
Yeah, in the co-main event, we had UFC vet Cody Brundage. He defeated Donald Rosenau of Subhounds. Wasn't super eventful, super exciting, but that's what you get when you get the stylistic clash that we got. We had a really good leg locker versus a really good wrestler. And, you know, with the wrestling comes heavy hips, and Cody's not the kind of guy that's just going to let you take a leg. You know, that guy is 80% legs. So congrats to him on picking up a dub.
Absolutely. And in the feature matchup of the day, my man, Josiah the Ghost Garcia, he does it again. This kid is the truth, Josh. You want to talk about skills, charisma, work ethic, and just a hunger to go out there and take everything. That is Josiah Garcia. This kid is serious about his strength and conditioning. He has competed at every turn that he possibly can as a grappler, whether that be in the gi or in a no-gi outing. He pretty much has a flawless performance going out there and picking up a triangle victory, or a victory by triangle, I should say, in the first round. Has so much presence about him that once he finishes the choke, knows exactly where I'm at cage side, comes over to me cage side and starts cutting a promo with me right there. Sees that I have my phone out and I'm recording. Says, I'm different. I'm telling you, I'm different. I'm coming for everyone out there. Let them know. And then after he's announced as the official winner, gets on the mic and cuts just the perfect Josiah-esque promo. And this would be one that, you know, I mean, it was a little tough to hear, but this was something straight out of the Josh world, where he's back there's like, I was trying to lock in, but there were all these hot chicks like modeling for the thing next to us. And like, I just couldn't lock in. There were so many hot girls everywhere. I was trying to focus, but I just couldn't get locked in. There were hot chicks everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, why do you need hot chicks at a swap meet when there's people trying to compete? Get that out of there. Bad enough we got ring girls.
Inside story. Matthew Wargo made the quick turnaround from cornering and competing to the first round and gets a first round armbar there. Killa Kyra Dial locked in a rear naked choke. And Josh, another kid who is impressive to me, and show after show, he goes out there and has exciting performances on top of just highly technical finishes in the process, is Michael Eager. It's officially leg locktober now for the 10th Planet Parker crew. And like I say, this man is a menace to whoever is across from him in competition. He gives you a cold blue steel stare that looks like a serial killer. And it just makes you wonder when he gives you the glare from across the cage. And we talked about this after his match the other day, but it's like, where's the bodies, Michael? Where's the bodies? But he goes out there and in true 10th Planet fashion comes up with, or pulls off the submission, I should say, that was named by Eddie Bravo after I'm sure he had a healthy dose of vitamins, the ham sandwich.
Sandwich.
And also want to give a shout out to Tristan No Comparison Harrison getting the victory in overtime. He's a very decorated striker, a Muay Thai champion, kickboxing champion, has MMA fights, and he's looking to round out that part of his skill set. So I just love seeing these young guys who are very strong in one area of their game doing things to put themselves in the fire to compete so that they can round out that skill set.
Yeah.
Just have to like seeing that. As we move along to the UFC card, Josh, Benoit was busted up.
Yeah, man, that was almost as bad as my softball game last night. But side story, yeah, that was an unfortunate end to the fight. But Moicano, kind of looking like a contender right now.
Kind of looking like a contender, but if you ask him, that's not what he wants.
He just wants money.
He wants easy fights for the most money. And that's the thing, is you don't
Give
get a
me my
lot of guys who
money.
will actually publicly say that. Because I mean, I feel like that's the sentiment that outside of, if you're not right there in the hunt for a title, for a lot of guys that are on the roster, especially him sitting there at 35, it's a, hey man, give me the opportunities that I can make as much money as I possibly can. If you want to give me somebody who's unranked or someone who is, you know, bottom third of the roster, and I go out there and I go make this check that I'm already contracted to make, that seems like the smarter longevity choice.
Moicano, I agree with you. I'm there with you. I'm agree with the man. We're out here to make money. We're out here to make a living.
Moicano wants money.
Moicano wants money, and he's a very well-read guy. Like he does his research. He's a very intelligent guy. So, you know, it's not like he's out here spending his money frivolously on dumb stuff, but he is a smart guy.
Agreed. You know, he's very into government. He's into economics. And the fact that he has rounded out his ability, he said for a long time he never really spoke on some of these things because he didn't feel like his English was to the level of being able to articulate what he wanted to say. But now that he's continued to work on that aspect just of himself, it's helped him in so many facets, Josh. From the infamous Money Moicano promo that he cut a couple of years ago in Madison Square Garden, he said that from that moment on, the explosion and the growth of his popularity is not even comparable to what it was. He said, I was in the UFC for, you know, almost a decade prior to that point, and only the hardcore people really knew who I was. He said, but now a lot of people know who Money Moicano is.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to hop on that Money Moicano train.
Sometimes it just takes a while. It takes one little, the shirt you're wearing, the story behind it's the same thing. One little thing has to change, and then boom.
And he's made the most of it by continuing to win.
Yeah, that's a crucial thing.
Helps everything. But also in that process, Josh, time after time, he cuts great post-fight promos.
He's funny. He's charismatic.
He's funny. He's charismatic, but he's not just offering entertaining tidbits or anecdotes when he's talking on the microphone. He's also providing substance. Like him saying, you know, like, F Macron and the French government and all of these things. Like, no, he's not just saying that just to be antagonistic or to rile the feathers or anything. He said, no, let me tell you why. Go read X and X book. I can't remember the book that he said, but he said, like, this talks about their democracy principle and so on. And so, like, he's giving you actual, like, cited sources for why he's saying things. How many people in general, when they're going out there and just shooting darts left and right, are going to actually provide you like, okay, why am I saying this? Well, you go read this book and this is exactly why. Not many people are actually citing their, it's like,
I was just cited sources.
Like, where's your sources? Trust me, bro. Well, Moicano says, no.
Page 7, index 3, verse 4, right here. That's Money Moicano.
Exactly. And Josh, I also think that we have to recognize that the weight class change for him has definitely been the best possible thing that he could have done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Go ahead and give me a reason why, Jordan.
So I will give you my reason why. There's a few different things. First and foremost, at 155, as opposed to him making that cut for so many years, draining himself to 145, his chin is no longer compromised by the cut. So he's got more confidence and he's more willing to put himself into the fire, might be more willing to take one to give one at times, if you will, just because he knows that he can absorb it in the process. He's strong as a bull, which I was very surprised that he was basically able to ragdoll Benoit.
Yeah,
as
that's
strong
shocking.
and as powerful and explosive as Benoit is, but he did. Benoit had no answer, even if it was just freak athletic movements to try to create a scramble to get up. He had no answer for everything that Moicano was doing to him. He has better cardio now that he's not killing himself to make the weight. And he's not so stressed and pigeonholed with his capabilities due to the weight cut, that he's just simply a better fighter by his 6-fight win streak right now at 155 that includes 5 finishes. And I have no idea how he ever made 145. A couple of months ago, I ran into him at the New York. We see pretty much eye to eye. For frame of reference, I'm 6 foot, 170 pounds soaking wet.
Hey, Danny, you got a tape measure? I'm calling cap right now.
Go ahead.
6 foot.
Get that
6 foot, huh?
measure right now. Yeah, just like I'll call cap on your 6'5", 6'4".
Hey, I have 3 doctors and a picture of a doctor measuring me. What kind of proof do you have? Exactly, nothing.
Trust me,
Moving
bro.
on.
It's the trust me, bro. That's what you call a callback. But moving along from that fight, you have Nasruddin Imavov picking up a massive victory in that co-main slot over Brendan Allen. In terms of being the most polished fight from either guy, probably not something that you would say was either's best performance. But for Nasruddin's case, we mentioned it last week on the program that he flies under the radar and he just keeps on winning. Now, with him beating Brendan Allen, and Allen was sitting at the 8th spot, he was defending his rank. I don't think that performance puts him in line for the next title shot, but he's certainly knocking on the door of maybe an eliminator shot coming up.
Definitely an eliminator shot, I think. I mean, it was a great performance. I mean, you don't see a lot of people out grapple Brendan Allen like that. I thought Brendan Allen had a better chance on the feet, but I mean, it was a good competitive fight. But I don't think, as you said, with the guys at the top, with the people who were about to fight, that you can give him a title shot, but maybe down the road, give him an eliminator shot.
Yeah, I think that's certainly something that could be in the mix there for him. You had William Gomez picking up a win in the hometown crowd. I mean, it was a close fight. I thought that his style might be problematic for Brito, and Brito definitely gave him all that he could offer. But I think the real show stealer, aside from Moicano, on this entire card, Bryan Battle.
Yeah, dude, that was a cool performance, and it has been super cool. Like, I've never met the dude, but he, from the Ultimate Fighter to now, to see the growth, not just physically, not just his skill set, because every time he goes out there, his skill set just gets better and better, but it's his charisma, it's his way with the crowd.
Oh yeah,
the song he walked out to, where he's at, like just the little things. And then, I know you didn't think the Butcher was gonna lose to a French guy. Oh. That's hilarious.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about Bryan Battle and a lot of what Josh just mentioned a little bit later on in the program. But moving from there, we have Fares Zion picking up a spectacular knockout by knee against the steamroller Matt Frevola. Josh, I mean, you want to talk about timing? It was perfect timing, perfect placement, right on the rotation off of the fence. It was lights out.
Wow, that was it didn't even look like Saheem came off his other toe. It looked like he just threw that knee up there and his other foot was still planted. There was no separation from him and the canvas. Perfect timing. Frevola will be back. But good for Saheem, if I'm saying that correctly, because he was at one point cut from the UFC, I believe, right? Or there was something going on with his visa.
He was like there were visa issues. I don't believe that he was ever officially released. I could be mistaken by that, but yeah, there were times where there were some issues in the process.
He had a
down
spin,
up and down.
Up and downs is a better way to describe it. And he's out that for your home country to be able to perform like that. That was amazing. Good on him.
Absolutely. And then Eileen Lou Perez, she did have a miss on the scale, which is kind of, I mean, you got to watch what you say at times, because she was one of the fighters who publicly ripped the hell out of Tracy Cortez for missing weight a couple of weeks back. And then she goes and misses weight. So sometimes it's hey, like,
this is the twerking girl, right?
Yes.
Can we discuss this?
Bro, she's twerking her way all the way to the top of the division.
Look, you're great. Maybe go take a couple lessons. Maybe go meet some friends. I feel like she could do better.
There's always room for improvement.
There's always room for improvement, Perez. Your fighting skills are amazing. Let's not question that. Very good. Let's get the weight under control. And then,
let's also talk about the power of a tan. We'll move on.
That was a shot at me, guys. Don't worry about that.
All right, guys. Tonight, you have Dana White's Contender Series. This one is a very important episode, not just for us here on the home front, but for the UFC overall, because of some of the fighters that are on the card, or the status that they hold, or past history, so on and so forth. And let's dive into that real quick. Right away, want to give a huge shout out and a stroke or push of good luck, whatever it is that you want to say, sending all the good energy and vibes to Chief Carlos Calderon, getting his opportunity to fight for that coveted UFC contract tonight. He squares off against Alberto Montez. This was a short notice opportunity for Carlos. I had the opportunity of calling one of Carlos's early fights way back in the day in 2019 for a Fury card, the very first Fury show out here. We've had him since on Combat Club shows. He's fought for the LFA. He's fought for Fury, like we say. He's fought for Combate. And just all around, a great human. Like there's a lot of, interesting characters who may not be of the best, moral standing, should we say, that come across this game. But Carlos Calderon is one of those guys who he's a family man. He loves his daughter. He is a great mentor and coach to all of the fighters who are around him in those circles. And when you have somebody who does things the right way, who is a true martial artist through and through, supportive of the community as a whole, my man, we all want to see you succeed tonight.
Let's get it.
Josh, in the middleweight division tonight.
Yeah, we have Torres Finney. He gets his chance at redemption this week after his heavily scrutinized performance a couple weeks ago. It was his third time?
It's third time on the Contender
Series.
Third
time's a charm, Torres. Let's go. I like I said, I hope everyone gets $1 million. I hope he does well. I hope he figures it out. I hope Dana doesn't,
But this is my retort to that, Josh, is they said that, that he needed to round out his skill set and get better and improve. How much did he improve from 5 weeks ago?
Brother, this is all crapshoot. If he goes out there and he puts on a crazy performance, he knocks someone out, he submits someone. If he gets a finish, I guarantee you he will get a contract. If he goes out there and he did what he did last fight, he will not get a contract.
But again, if we're talking about ultimately, if the goal is staying, we said this before. Right now, as it sits currently, he's got a one contract skill set.
Yeah.
So just in terms of longevity, I don't know that this works out for him overall, but hey, you never know. We've seen crazy development arcs, which we'll talk about here in just a moment.
Yeah.
Also, one last one to round out the card here. We have Jacoby Smith, the Oklahoma State All-American, 8-0 coming in on the card. He's fought a lot of high-level and very respected veterans in the process to get to this stage. So we think that this is going to be a tremendous opportunity for him to go out there and showcase his abilities this week. But now we're going to transition into talking about this week's UFC 307 pay-per-view card. Josh, this fight this weekend in the main event, it's a scrutinized matchup because of Khalil getting the opportunity in the way that he did, but you have number 8 ranked Khalil Roundtree Jr. taking on the champion Alex Poatan Pereira. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
I think it's going to be a fun stand-up fight for people. Khalil's not afraid to throw bombs. He's going to throw with everything he got. Chama doesn't really have to, do too much when he throws it, and usually just kills people. I gotta go with the champ, but I hope it's a good fight.
Khalil is a live dog just simply because of the power that he possesses.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he has the sauce to be able to stand there and bang with Poatan.
No.
Because he's gonna have to close the distance because Alex is the longer and taller fighter. He's going to have to stand in the pocket and going to have to risk wearing one. I don't know if that works out well for him.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked out really well for anybody who's tried to stand in front of that man.
Nope.
So I think that it's pretty clear which way we lean on that one. In the co-main event, you have a title fight between Raquel Pennington taking on Juliana Pena. Raquel Pennington, the Colorado-based fighter, she is coming into this fight as her first title defense against a former champion. They have history dating back to their season when they were on The Ultimate Fighter. There's been some chatter that's gone on back and forth between the two. Josh, do you see this as an new affair, or does the title stay home in Colorado and still?
Look, I remember this season. I was a big fan of this season. of The Ultimate Fighter, and Pena was my girl. That's who I picked to win. That's who I wanted. Also, I was a fan of Pennington. So, I've also had the opportunity to fight on cards with Pennington. I think they are both awesome. I think that Pena just gets it done wrestling-wise. I think Rocky could definitely catch her, could definitely knock her out. But I think that the wrestling will play a huge part in this.
I think that the tail of this fight will be which Raquel shows up.
True.
Because she is coming off of, I believe she had surgery post winning the title. But throughout her career, an inspired Rocky is a very talented and a impressive fighter who goes out there and wills her way to victory.
Mm-hmm.
Uninspired Rocky, you might trade some wins with some losses in the process. I think that we'll have to see which one shows up to really know how that fight plays out. Juliana's a dog.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
Juliana will never listen to anyone who counts her out. Like, I think that's part of why she was able to have the couple-year layoff that she did and be able to come back and say, hey, you know what? I'm still her. I should still get that title shot. And guess what, Josh? She got it.
Mm-hmm.
And she won. She beat the consensus female GOAT. Say that it was an off night for Amanda. Say Amanda didn't take her serious. So whatever you will. She still got her hand raised and will still be remembered forever in history as a champion.
Yeah. I think that's huge.
There's a huge matchup going down in the bantamweight division between Jose Aldo Jr. taking on Mario Bautista of the Lab. This is we've seen a few matchups recently where they're kind of taken, and it's happened throughout time, but there's a lot of them going on right now where there's that old marquee star and that rising prospect. That's exactly this fight right here.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly how you said it, and they're trying to just give opportunity there, but nothing against you, Mario. Just I'm Jose all the way.
Man, it's tough to go against the King of Rio just simply because of his history and all that he's accomplished.
Yeah.
But I also think that Mario Bautista is really that guy.
No, I believe he is.
This is the question that I posed to you, Josh, because this is what I believe happened in the last fight that Jose Aldo had. Does Mario Bautista get starstruck?
That's a possibility.
And I think that that's a factor that you have to consider whenever it's any of these younger rising prospects or these rising contenders, if you will, because any guy who's ranked, I mean, whether it was Jonathan the last fight to now Bautista, they're contenders. They're in the thick of things. But when you're going up against that guy who you watched your entire life growing up, who for 10 plus years you saw gold wrapped around him, and then now, oh wait, I'm locked in this cage and that's the man standing across from me?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's going to be tough. He's going to have to figure those out.
It's not in Brazil, though, so how
doesn't
does
matter.
the physique look? I mean, I'm sure Drug Free Sport International is doing their job here in America. We can't really say anything.
Trust me, I know they're doing their job. 6 a.m. Come on now.
But another fight on the card that we have to talk about is a top-ranked women's bantamweight matchup, which is, by all things that it looks like, has to be for the next title shot. You have Ketlin Vieira, number 2 ranked, taking on number 3, Kayla Harrison. Honestly, I feel bad for Ketlin.
Yeah, I mean, Kayla Harrison is just gonna Kayla Harrison.
Because now that she can also throw elbows, like, Josh, as long as she stays healthy, I don't see how she doesn't become a champion.
You're right.
It's just the lay of the land of the division right now. She's just that big and that strong.
And that's something that I think is going to be huge. What kind of implications does that have when you have a crossover from PFL Bellator coming to the UFC and becoming a champion, as opposed to vice versa? How's that going to affect certain landscapes? And I know it's, to us, we understand it because it's the lay of the land of the women's division at that weight class. But you're going to get fans who are just going to be like, oh, well, you saw she did it, so why not? So I think it's going to spark some conversation.
Another one of conversation, though, for DFSI and George Piro, who just happens to be a black belt of American Top Team. And where does Kayla Harrison train?
ATT?
Oh, wow. Imagine that. Oh, imagine that. And one more fight that I want to talk about before we switch gears here. We have a matchup that is the main event of the prelims. You have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson taking on Joaquin Buckley. Again, though, another old dog taking on a rising prospect, a rising contender. Josh, how do you see this one playing out?
Oh, I want to go with Wonder Boy. I don't know exactly how Buckley's going to close that distance. He's fast, he's explosive, but he also did a very good job in his previous match up. I forget, I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, so I'm not going to mess it up. But and he did very well with his wrestling. Wonder Boy's a little bit better of a wrestler than that, so it's going to be hard to get him down. I got to go Wonder Boy.
Solely for personal reasons, I take Wonder Boy.
Yeah.
I mean, ad nauseum, folks, you know our opinions of Buckley or the level of annoyance that we've had with him over the years here on this.
Don't put we in that. Don't put we in that.
Me.
Yeah,
I'll own it. Me, solely me right here. But a couple other fighters. I know we said that we were going to break off from there, but got to give a couple of shout outs just because of who they are. Carla Esparza, her retirement fight, taking on Tisha Torres Pennington, Rocky's wife. You know, another tremendous human being who've gotten to meet a couple of times through the years out here in Colorado. Great human, I believe. She also fought on a card that you were on, Josh. Did she fight Mackenzie Dern in Jacksonville? Same card that you were on? Yeah, that's what I thought. And then Court McGee taking on Tim Means.
Let's go, Court.
I love both of them. You know, I love Court. He's someone who we've had the opportunity of sharing time with inside of the gym and just being able to chat with. We've got to watch him since he won the Ultimate Fighter back in the day. But I've also had the opportunity to chat with Tim Means over the years, especially with some of the kids that he brings up and have fought on our local cards from NHB down there in Albuquerque. Salt to the earth type of guy. I mean, he's a good human. He's a good dude in that way that, you know, you just, in this instance, it's a couple of gritty, battle-tested veterans that they're out there on a big card and they get to open it up for everybody.
Yeah.
Court McGee gets to fight at home in Utah. So I think that's a cool opportunity for him. There's not too many fights left for either one of these guys. So why not let him go out there and fight someone who is kind of on an even playing field as opposed to having to get forced out the door against one of these young, hungry killers. I think that's a great way, if you will. But we are going to wrap up that UFC preview segment. And real quick, guys, we just want to talk again about one of the fighters from this last week's UFC Paris card. And I think it's for good reason. And there's some parallels here. But with it being fight week for Crybaby Khalil, you'll hear it no less than a bazillion times this week about how he was a former fat dude who found himself through fighting. But there's another fighter on the UFC roster who has also had quite the transformation, and that guy is Brian Battle. Brian recently changed his nickname to the Butcher from Pooh Bear, and the Pooh Bear nickname really didn't make sense to a lot of people, especially if you were one of those who first started following Battle once he was on the Ultimate Fighter. But in case you missed it, footage from his very first amateur fight back in the day went viral last week, and a heavyweight Brian Battle looked very much the part of Pooh Bear. I mean, he was a bald fat guy. That's where you could easily see where people gathered that nickname Pooh Bear. But since winning the Ultimate Fighter and joining the UFC, he's went 5-1-1 with 4 finishes. His confidence right now is on another level. He's switched up his look. He's rocking short blonde hair, dripping with all gold everything, flipping double birds to the French crowd after coming out to Inwards in Paris, cutting promos on them. Like I say, everything that he did said heel and look at me, and he showed up, showed out, and delivered upon that. There is so much toxicity out there and the haters in MMA, period. And Josh, I guarantee you that through all of this, and I say this simply to highlight, it is a beautiful thing to watch someone see something through.
Yeah, 100%. To see where Brian Battle started to where he's at now is just tremendous and really speaks on his work ethic, his demeanor, and his just ability to fight through the hard times.
Absolutely. And some of what you mentioned earlier, but Josh, I guarantee you that he had so many people who were counting him out and saying, oh, yeah, you're going to do something, back when he was that 250-pound full-bellied guy saying that he'd be in the UFC one day. I guarantee that he was written off from a lot of people because he comes out of North Carolina, where it's like, oh, there's fighting out there? I thought you guys were just basketball players.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely, through the years, caught flack for being a little soft-bodied at middleweight and having long hair in the process. Now, he's a dripped-out, ripped, tatted-up savage who is just finishing guys left and right and is coming into his own persona-wise and understands the value of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was the controversy after the Angelusa fight and calling him out like, hey, man, you seem like you're ready to go. You're not even blinking. Like, your eye's good. And then Angelusa wanting to fight right then and there. And it's like, okay, he was so bad that he couldn't fight a couple of minutes ago. Then he wants to fight me now. The very expletive-filled rant that we can't say for demonetization reasons. But yeah, that ended up on a t-shirt. People made a t-shirt out of that, of the exact like 5-word all profane rant that he went on at Angelusa. Like I say, just a guy who understands the value of the moment and is taking advantage of it in full swing right now.
No, and that's exactly what it is. He's taken advantage of the hard work and the opportunities that hard work has granted him. And it's just, I'm a fan. The guy's cool to watch. He's cool to listen to. It's awesome that he isn't that chubby dude anymore, and he's made an example for everyone to follow. And that's the thing. That's the beauty of this sport, guys. Not only will it get you in shape and you can go from a Pooh Bear to a butcher. I mean, come on. It just gives you everything you need. It takes away your ego. It gives you confidence, and it makes you look good. Like, I don't know how everyone isn't in the gym. I don't know. It's beyond me, big fella.
Certainly. And just to round that segment off and put a bow on it, I don't know what we see before the end of 2025 from Bryan Battle, but Josh, he keeps on putting on performances like that. I think that in 2025, we potentially see a number next to his name at 170.
Oh, yeah, definitely a number.
Certainly. And from the promotion standpoint, they cannot love this any more than they are right now, when especially it's well known that the guys who were a part of the Ultimate Fighter, and especially those who win the Ultimate Fighter,
get a push.
They get an extra push.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because of all those resources that the UFC has put into them, everything is going to be so much sweeter through time for Bryan Battle should he continue to keep on winning.
Yeah, it's momentum is a real thing.
Absolutely. And now to close out the hour, the highly anticipated battle of 3 rounds. We got my man Danny Bailey behind the boards right now, holding it down for us. First round, my man. What do we have?
All right, former UFC women's bantamweight champion Juliana Pena said she does not believe that going to Salt Lake City in advance to prepare for the high altitude would benefit her, by saying, if you're in shape, you're in shape. Any thoughts?
Yeah, she's got a point. I say this because, I mean, I'm living in Colorado now, so it's different. But the way I look at it is, if you get there 2 weeks in advance, you're not adjusting in 2 weeks. I've been here for 5 years, and there's still times that I walk up the steps a little too fast, and I'm like, I think that you should get here the week of, maybe a couple days before, and then you just fight, because it's gonna suck. You're gonna get tired, and that's just what it is. Coming 2 weeks is not enough, because it's gonna affect your recovery. You're not going to recover. The weight cut's going to suck. She was champ for a reason. I think she knows what she's doing.
I understand, or I hear what you're saying, but I will raise you Cain Velasquez.
I was going to say, you hear me? I don't think you understand it.
No, I offer the counterpoint of Cain Velasquez, who was known as being Cardio Cain, the greatest heavyweight cardio display throughout his fights, aside from having to go fight at high altitude where he lost his title to Fabricio Verdum. And the altitude was 100% a factor.
You can say that, but do we know the factors or the variables that were upon him leading into the fight during fight camp? That also plays a huge role in people's cardio. And where did Kane trained in California, correct? Yeah. And then the fight was where? In Mexico City?
Mexico City.
Oh, Mexico City is really high. Did Fabricio go early?
Yes.
Yeah. By how many?
Went a whole 8 weeks, I believe.
All right. That makes a difference. 8 weeks. Yes.
Yeah, it was either like a full 6-8 weeks, something along those lines, and it was very definitely a difference. So, like I said, I mean, could there be something to it? Sure, maybe sometimes it's a little more psychosomatic than anything.
Yeah,
but there's a reason why people choose to train at high altitude.
Yeah.
So to completely disregard or discredit that, I think it's just Juliana trying to justify her choices to herself.
It could be that. Could be that.
All right, Renato Moicano blasted the UFC rankings for not moving up despite his impressive finish over Benoit Saint-Denis. Do you agree with him?
I disagree with Moicano on this one, actually. And I think that it's solely from a standpoint of this was an 11 versus 12 matchup. Moicano sitting at the number 11 position. He beat a guy decidedly lower than him in the rankings. The only one that I could potentially see that him maybe jumping up is, okay, then you take a top 10 spot because I believe sitting in number 10 right now is Max Holloway. But aside from that, I mean, you beat a guy who was lower than you in the rankings. You can't really expect to have a big jump.
Yeah, I mean, he's just riding that high off the win.
Yeah.
And he's just, he'll understand.
But for him, though, that's also kind of a smart play of him saying like, hey, like I should be higher in that mix. Like, what are you guys doing? Because right now he wants the Hooker fight.
Yeah.
And with Hooker getting the big jump a couple of weeks ago, him saying, hey, I should be a little bit higher. Well, that maybe sweetens the pot a little bit for that Hooker matchup taking place.
Yeah.
That's kind of my reading between the lines of his wizardry that he's trying to pull off.
That could be.
Kevin Lee picked up a first-round finish over the weekend in his first fight since getting released from the UFC for a second time. Will he get a third opportunity?
That is such a perplexing question, Danny, because there is so many things that come along with Kevin Lee. It's not like somebody, say, for example, Juicy J. Julian Erosa, who he's had 3 tours in the UFC. Kevin Lee brings a headline with him wherever he goes, good or bad. No matter what Kevin Lee does, there's going to be headlines to it, especially given that he's the former title challenger. He had Phenom status at one point, but Josh, that interim title challenge was, that was almost 7 years ago now, something in that range. He is a far cry from the form that he once was.
And would you even want to come back? Because the names that they're going to give him because he's a name.
Well, he said that he did. He came out on record and said that he would be willing to fight for free on the Contender Series to be able to get an opportunity to get back into the UFC. And they denied that opportunity.
Well, yeah, they're not just going to let him fight free. Just legally can't do that.
Well, one, they can't do that. But just in general, he was saying that he was so willing to get back into the UFC that he would go fight on the Contender Series and take that chance.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's something that they wouldn't entertain either, just because of the difference in experience.
Exactly. He has too big of a name. I think that, enjoy your life, man.
And with as much, the other factor here is Kevin Lee being a former title challenger, there's a certain financial component that comes with that and the status that he's achieved.
Yeah.
If the UFC were to re-sign him, as Josh brilliantly just said, for the money that he would be paid, and again, mind you, the second tour where they brought him back and he got submitted right away was against, or not Fakhretdinov.
Who?
Amen. A killer who nobody knows, or very few people knows who he is.
No, I just want to hear you pronounce that one more time, because you just said that we're going to get demonetized, and then you're out here cussing like a sailor, which is crazy to me.
Renat Fakhreddinov.
Oh, there it is again, Danny. Oh, stop the man.
But yes, so that, that was a very short-lived second stint, but I think that was more or less the UFC saying, hey, we'll give you the shot, but we'll see what you do with it. And goes out and gets submitted right away by a very tough guy, but a no-name guy on this side of the world. And I don't mean to say that to sound ultimately disrespectful to Fakhreddinov, but it's just the nature of what it is. Most people that are not hardcores or deeply involved in the sport won't know who that guy is. Or do you even remember that Kevin Lee had that return fight in the UFC? That's the bigger question. Was that even notable enough that you remember it?
The bigger question is, do you kiss your mother with that mouth? Yes, I do remember that. I do remember his return. I do. I didn't know that it was it a one and done?
One and done.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah, I mean, it goes to show, like, sometimes, and you can't tell a person you're done. Like, they have to come to that conclusion. And sometimes when it comes to sports, it doesn't matter if it's fighting or the NFL. People are not very good with managing their money.
No.
And the UFC pays the most, unless you're a champion in PFL or Bellator. I don't know how that competes with it, because guess what? I'm not a champion. But it could be a financial thing for him. He could want to get back into the UFC because he wants to make more money.
And at only 32,
he's 32
on the clock. There's time, but
physically,
how much is really truly left in the tank when we're looking at a fighter who has had probably more than a dozen surgeries at this point? He's had at least 3, if not 4 ACL reconstructions. Lots of issues with his hands, wrists, all of that through the years. When you're looking at risk reward for the UFC, for what you're going to have to pay him to bring him, even if it's just for a one-off,
you're going to give him a good name. You're going to give him a good fighter.
That's the only thing is, if you do bring him back, you got to give him a killer.
Yeah, there's no other choice.
You got to give him another unknown killer for that guy to try to build his name off of Kevin Lee's profile. It's just kind of the nature of the beast and the way of the world in the combat sports game, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, my brother.
But just like that, though, folks, we are all out of time, and we want to thank you all so much for tuning in with us each and every week for this original combat sports programming. Let us know what you think. Hit Josh up. I know he doesn't really listen or doesn't really like looking at a whole lot of messages, but if you want to show some support, his message is there. Josh Fremd MMA.
Do not message me.
Exactly. You can follow me or message me at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. We want to give a special shout out to everybody here at the Mile High Sports Network. They are doing tremendous things here. Also, especially to Danny Bailey behind the boards, taking care of us each and every week. Guys, as always, if you are looking to support an American-based product and supplements, you could always check out the Jocko Go line and use that code MMA Plug for any discounts in the process there. Also, if you want to support some of the underserved youth in our community, you can check out the Guardian Project. The Guardian Project is aimed to provide jiu-jitsu for all. It helps keep kids off the streets. It's a very tumultuous time out there in society, so anything that we could do to try to help these kids out is definitely an opportunity worth looking into. But again, that is it for this week. Make sure that you smash that like and subscribe button. We will be back with you same time, same place next week. I'm Jordan Kurtz. This is the MMA Plug, presented to you by Mile High Sports.